Hi, everybody. It's Alexandria Fraser, and you are listening to the Let's Live with Alexandria Fraser podcast. In today's episode, we have a very interesting interview with a pro athlete, which I'm super excited to talk about. I think you're my first pro woman athlete. Pro athlete, that's a woman. There we go. So I'm super
Love
excited.
it.
I'm so excited. Do you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, so my name is Reagan Rust. I am from Mississippi, one of the first players to come from Mississippi to play NCAA Division I ice hockey as well as pro ice hockey. So I have kind of been all over the world at this point. I'm in my fourth year of pro, and currently I'm in New Jersey playing for the Riveters.
Awesome. So how did you get into hockey? I know like you played in college as well, so if you want to like get into that kind of story.
So if we go back all the way to Mississippi, I was actually just making a TikTok about this. Um, but basically, I started because my aunt started going to games. I think my mom had told my aunt, she's like, "Oh, you should go check out ice hockey." I don't even know. My mom didn't even watch ice hockey, so super random. But my aunt ended up going, and then she would take us on Friday and Saturday nights. And so when I was 5 years old, we just like got really into it, me and my sister both. And then the semi-professional team down in Mississippi, the Memphis River Kings, actually started a rec league. And so they told us to come out, that it would be so much fun. There was going to be so many girls, and it was just me, my sister, and one other girl, and then all these other boys that we were playing with. But we never really noticed a difference. We just wanted to play ice hockey. So that was kind of like my beginnings, but I have been everywhere since then. So I don't know if you want me to start anywhere specific.
Yeah, well, so what age were you like when you started? Five? Okay. And then what about what college did you play at?
I played at RIT for my first year, my first 2 years actually, Rochester Institute of Technology. And then I played my last two at Boston University.
Awesome. And then how did you sort of get into pro? Did you go straight from college into pro, or did you take a little break or anything?
I went straight into it. I wasn't planning on playing my first year. I think I was kind of done with hockey at that point. Not that I didn't love it anymore. It's just I had other goals in mind. But I was working full time in Boston, and then they created the PWHPA, Professional Women's Hockey Players Association. It's a mouthful. Um, but I played there my first year, so it was a bunch of showcases.
Okay, sweet. And then how long have you been used, did you say you were playing on your new team for?
I'm on week 2.5, maybe. I think
Okay.
it's 2.5 weeks since I've been here.
Awesome. Oh my gosh, so fairly new. That's so exciting. Have you noticed any like, I don't know, where did you see your biggest growth over the years from high school to college to pro?
I would say there was a few years in high school, the ones where I was doubting if I could actually play D1 because I wasn't getting many looks. There was growth there because like I just kept working day in and day out to try to make it a reality. There was also growth like my first couple of years at RIT because I felt like I had a lot to prove since I was the kid that my coach would probably say he took a chance on, you know?
Yeah.
Nobody wanted to recruit somebody from Mississippi at the time. And then my last year, probably at BU, I took on a different role because it was, I was a captain that year. I was still only in my second year with BU, but it was like a lot to take on as well as like help grow the other next kind of generation, like the freshmen and the sophomores to give them their confidence. So a little bit different growth there, not so much for like me personally, but more so for the team. So different all over. And then obviously playing pro has been crazy everywhere I've been.
Oh my gosh, I'm sure. And so did you say you bounced around from a few different pro teams?
hmm So my first year I was in Boston. The second year I took a contract in Budapest, Hungary. So I went there. I was only there for about a month and a half before COVID shut everything down again. But this was like, yeah, later in 2020. And then I wasn't planning on playing again. Then I got an offer to go to Sweden last summer. So I went to Sweden, played there in Stockholm, which was really nice. Beautiful city, beautiful country too. I love it. And then I made my way to New Jersey from California after I came back from Sweden.
Oh my gosh, what would you say is like your favorite place you played? Not so much like the team, but like location wise.
I would say, I mean, Budapest is beautiful, is what I will say. Boston feels like home because I played there like my college years. and then Stockholm for the people that I
Okay.
met. So I loved a little bit of different things about everywhere I've been.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you have any favorite like player that you would look up to when you were a kid?
Julie Chu was one of them because I am half Filipino, and so I always looked up to anybody that was Asian that I could see playing the sport. She was actually on one of our calls recently, and I was like, "Wow, a little bit starstruck right now. I don't know what to do with my hands type deal." Um, and then when I was at BU, we played. I think it was Concordia, who she coaches right now, for like an exhibition game. And I walk out onto the bench to like go tape my stick, and I look across. I'm like, I don't have glasses on right now, but I'm pretty sure that's Julie Chu. And so kind of fangirled hard. So her and Mary Philip Poulin, who is the captain of Team Canada. Those are my two
Awesome.
favorites.
Oh my gosh, that's so cool. I love that too. Because like, I don't know, I'm half Hispanic, so whenever I like see somebody like, especially like with rugby now that I'm like getting more into it, I'm like, let's go. I get so excited. So I definitely
Yeah.
feel definitely. And so even like when you were younger, when were you ever like at a point where you're like, I don't want to do this anymore, and then you like would see players and be like, okay, like is there anything that also like drove you to keep playing? Because I know I feel like it's less common to see women. I mean, now it's more common, but I think back then, like I don't know, 10 years ago, 15 years ago, when I was growing up, because I remember my brothers used to play and I was wearing a Notre Dame hockey, like the University of Notre Dame hockey sweatshirt. And somebody's like, oh, do you play hockey? And I was like, no. And they were like, oh, yeah, like there's not really like a girls' league around here or anything. And I also
Mhm.
remember that like there was girls on my brother's team too. So I don't know, have you seen like a change in that? Because I think it's super interesting.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot more people playing hockey now, especially on the women's side, which is very exciting. And I've coached a lot of girls all over the country and all different skills and age levels. And when I was growing up, I had a lot of doubt about my play. I thought that I was good enough. Now, I actually watched some videos yesterday. Turns out I was just delusional. I actually was not good at all. Um, but I got really into my head my first year, 14-year AAA hockey. I was benched a lot in third periods. And so for me personally, I was like, this is terrible. Like I'm not having fun right now because at the 14 level, like you're very susceptible to getting your feelings hurt because you're going through all these different changes, whether it's with hormones and going to high school and all those things. And so whenever I was dealing with that, I was like, yeah, I'm done playing after this. And then I was just like, all right, well, let's just give it one more shot. Let's just try again. And then the next year, different coach. We had a female coach, which was amazing. And I didn't realize the impact that she had on me until I started coaching some of my girls. I'm like, oh, it really does make a difference to have females as the head coach.
Yeah, definitely. I completely agree with that as well. And speaking of like being a female in the hockey world, do you see any like difference between men and women's hockey? Or like, I definitely know sometimes like teams will struggle with like watch time, which I think is like crazy. I mean, I go to a ton of the female hockey game, like the women's hockey games here because I love watching them. But do you find any struggles being a woman in a pro sport?
Oh, all the time. It's like we're not getting paid as much. We may be at like one of the highest levels here in the States, but you look at our male counterparts and they are making millions
Yeah.
versus the thousands that we are making. And so it's definitely clear in that sense. I think perception is changing a bit more now and it's a bit more able to be viewed. So like our games are actually streamed on ESPN Plus, which is a huge upgrade. When I was in Sweden, it was on Seymour, which is kind of like their ESPN. And so, with that being said, it's like before this, there you couldn't get eyes on it. Like even watching, I think I tried to watch Wisconsin play in the national championship last year, and I had to go through so many hoops just to figure out what streaming platform I could watch it on. And I bought the wrong one multiple
Oh,
times, and I was starting to get so annoyed. And so you like look at those things, or like even when I was trying to watch U18 World Championships for women's or girls ice hockey, and I'm just like, where am I supposed to stream this here in the States? Like, if of all places, we should be able to watch it here in the United States. And it was just so frustrating, is what I will say. And so I think being able to view the sport is very hard. although like we have gotten more platforms to stream us, it's still not where it could be. And so I think even like WNBA and WSL, they've gotten a lot better about their streaming services, but we are a little bit behind it in the hockey world right now.
Yeah, and what do you think that we can do as people who watch you guys? You think just spreading it and like, posting on social media about it and everything?
Yeah, I think social media is the biggest thing. Talking to your friends about women's sports. Everyone always tells me like, or they ask me, what do you watch? I'm like, sports. And they're like,
Right.
like watching guy sports? I mean, I'm like, I guess, but I'd prefer to watch women's. Like, if I can watch women's ice hockey, I'm way more down to watch that. Mainly because, like, I know the players, I know what it takes to get to that level. I know the skill that it requires. And, like, our sport is a little bit different from men's ice hockey, obviously, because we don't hit, but, like, we are still very skilled players. And it's still physical. That's, like, the common misconception is that they think, oh, you guys don't play real hockey because you don't hit. I'm like, I bodied a girl like a week ago. Yes, we do hit, and we
You're
get
like,
really physical in practice.
right. Yeah, no, for sure. You guys definitely like, I mean, yeah, I completely agree with you. You definitely are gonna take hits and give them because it's a sport and it's how it goes, and you see it firsthand. And I'm sure that's really frustrating that when people say that to you all the time, it's like, oh, it's not this, it's not that. When it's like it's just false news that you have to go through and kind of they have to watch it for themselves in a way, which is frustrating too because sometimes they won't want to do that.
And as soon as they watch it, like, oh, this is pretty good. I'm like, yeah, shut up.
Yeah, no, exactly. I think it's just like the step to have people watch it, which is really frustrating. Yeah,
For
and so
sure.
also, did you also find like okay, sorry, like when you're in college versus now, did you find it easier or harder to like watch it? Because I know, I mean, for me, I don't know like a women's pro hockey team around here, but I know like my college. But do you find that more people will tune into the college ones or the um, pro ones?
I honestly don't know the numbers on it. I would say it's probably a little bit easier to go watch women's ice hockey for college because there's, I think, like 40 different colleges. And so on any given day, there's like 20 games on a weekend. And so for us, we have, I think it's like 8 or 9, 10 teams. Sorry, I'm like getting my leagues confused. I'm not sure. Anyways, it's between 8 and 10 teams. And so the max we'll have is like 4 to 5 games. And so I think it's a little bit harder to have the viewership there. But there's also the PWHPA, and they have, I think, five or so teams, but they do showcase style. So like they will go and everybody will play on that weekend. So it's not like it's happening every single weekend. Like they have the full structure within the NCAA.
Okay, very cool. That makes sense though. And do you find that like now that you're in the pro leagues, how is training different than when you were growing up or even in high school and college?
Growing up, I didn't have much training off ice. I don't know. Are you talking about on ice too?
Yeah, I'm like both, honestly.
Got it. And so coaches were pretty knowledgeable, surprisingly, from Mississippi and in Pittsburgh. I had a lot of great coaches growing up. I didn't have a lot of off ice training up until probably my junior, senior year of high school, where we got one of the D1 coaches to be actually our strength coach. And then whenever I got to college, we lost our strength coach to the Buffalo Sabres, unfortunately, slash fortunately for him. So we didn't really have that training. I think we had somebody come in from like the NARP gym or like the just the regular gym where people go. And so she didn't really know how to train hockey players, which is like completely different from training somebody that's not training hockey. So that was a little bit different. And then we also had our coach step in who was a communications major in college to write our workout plans, which they don't mix very well. But the on ice training was pretty good, minus like a lot of bag skates in college. And then we had, when I was at BU, we had great coaching staff. Like I had Tara Watchhorn, Liz Keaty, who's now the head coach at Dartmouth. Liz or Watchhorn is now the head coach at Stonehill and was also an Olympian for Team Canada. And then we have Brian DeRocher, who played at BU, played with some of the greatest players of all time, and he's been with the program ever since it started. So like we had a really great coaching staff there, really good strength coach and conditioning over there. And now my first year pro didn't have a strength coach. It was all on your own unless you wanted to go like find one for yourself. And then Budapest, they have crazy workouts, is what I will say. He's no longer with that team, but the workouts we were doing, we were actually swimming a lot. And it was like 500 meters in the pool. That was like after ice and then off ice and then pool time. We're like, okay, this is a great exercise.
You don't get a
Uh,
break.
yeah. And then Sweden and here, it's been different. So basically everywhere you go is going to be a little bit different. I think the training is a bit more intense in college, though.
Okay, yeah. Do you find that what kind of exercises work best for you as a player to be stronger on the ice?
A lot of single leg stuff, lateral movements. I mean, with hockey, we are doing some unnatural movements for the body. Like runners, you're going forward and backwards. We are going at an angle sideways, which is like that our hips are very tight, is what I will say. So, a lot of just being able to strengthen your hips and then having a good core, that's really important. So, like any core exercises just to build it. And then a lot of push and pulls. You really just you have to mix it up, but a lot of the single leg stuff, single arm stuff is really good.
That does sound good. Do you do stuff on your own too? Like, will you do like a core workout on your own, or do you mainly just do it with your team?
We have training twice a week and we always do extra after that. Some girls will do another workout on top of that. For me, I know that my body can't really take it right now. And so I do two workouts and then I'll do like some bike, either kind of like cool downs or just like some extra conditioning on the bike. And then on the ice, I'll do a little bit more training after practice where it's just like focusing on shots, keeping my head up, things that I know that I need to work on. That's what I will do.
Yeah, that's awesome. Definitely. I kind of also want to know if you're open to share like a day in your life, like what it looks like, training, food, rest, everything like that, just because it's so interesting. I think every pro athlete has their own different routine. So I wanted to kind of know like your little routine.
So for me, I'm not working full time the way that other people work full time, I guess you could say. I focus on making a lot of content outside of hockey. And so when I wake up in the morning, I will meditate. That's my first thing that I do as soon as I get up is I meditate. Surprisingly, it does not put me back to sleep. And then I'll journal for a bit and then I'll get up, do my just whole, bathroom, kitchen routine. I'll make oatmeal. That's normally just the only thing I can get down in the morning because we have practice super early. And so we'll get to the rink probably around 8-ish. We got warm up on your own. So I'll do like a 25-minute warm up before I go get ready and get dressed and get on the ice. And then we have a meeting right before practice to go over like what we're going to be focusing on for the day. And then we jump on the ice around 9 and then we'll go for like an hour and a half. Now that we're about to be full swing into the season, like at games every single weekend, it probably will be around the hour mark. And then after like a Tuesday, Thursday practice, we will go to the gym. And so we'll be in there around 11, then we'll finish up around 12:15, do our whole routine. And then I go home, start making content, and then plan out the rest of my week. I have a lot of meetings with people, and then I will take my time. I'll take my downtime very seriously because I need to rest. And then I like to be in bed by 9, surprisingly enough.
Awesome. No, I respect it completely. When you were in college, how did you balance everything? Because I know like speaking for myself, like I had an exam yesterday and I was up till like I don't know, this whole week I've been going to bed at like 2, 3, and I can't even imagine on top of that having practices. Like how do you do that?
I did not balance it. It's you're always giving up something. Like if one area of your life is going really well, you got to be giving up something in another area. And so for me, I really focused on hockey. Even my academics too, I focused on those, but I knew that if I studied a certain amount, I could get like a decent grade. And I didn't need to go over that because there was no point in me trying to get all A's. That's what I knew. I'm like, I'm just trying to get my degree, to be honest with you. I had over a 3.0 is what I will say, but like I would really focus on breaking everything up to like what matters the most to me right now. And so hockey, obviously I'd focus on that. We'd probably have 3 to 4 hours a day. And then I would set aside 2 or so plus hours each day for homework, or I would try to get homework done like in class or spread out over the weekends. And then I would have tutors as well. So that would be like an hour. Then I had clubs, which would be like another hour, 2 hours. Then I had all these group project meetings because I was in business school. And so in total, I was probably going for like 12 hours a day, if not 14 hours a day, which not healthy. And then on top of that, studying for exams, which, as you know, as you just described, I would be up sometimes until midnight, but I would try to clock out there and then like wake up early and try studying some more like that. But it's not easy to balance it. It all depends on your schedule too. Like I like to overload classes on specific days so that I would have time on the other days to do all my homework.
Yeah, I love that's what I kind of do. My heavier days are like my heaviest day is Wednesday, so then when I go home, I can just get all my homework done and then be done for
Hmm.
like majority of the rest of the week and then Sunday, of course, grind. But no, I completely agree with that. Have you like battled any injuries? I know that like I feel like when you're in college too, maybe it's more because like you're more open to it since you're not getting as much sleep, nutrition's also
Hmm.
hard. You're like you're supposed to eat in like 10 minutes and so, like did you even like from high school up until now, have you battled any like serious injuries?
Yeah, I've had quite a few. One, I broke my collarbone in ninth grade. That was just a fracture though, so it wasn't like anything terrible. Like it wasn't a clean break, thankfully. I also fractured my back in my senior year of college. That was extremely painful. I played through it. Um, and then I got like 15 stitches in my ear from like it's a little fat now versus my other ear. But I got 15 stitches. I don't know if you can see. But yeah, that was from taking a puck to the head and
Oh
very
my.
painful. It was my second to last game senior year, and I was like, really, like this had to happen of all things. But other than that, I've been pretty thankful. A few minor concussions, not too much that I had to like miss any hockey for.
Okay, yeah. And were those all pretty much, I mean, obviously like the puck to the air, but those are all pretty much hockey related?
Yeah, hockey and training related.
Yeah. Wow, it's
Yeah.
so serious. It's also probably hard too when you have to sit out for a little bit and you just like see your teammates too and like I don't know, now do
Hmm.
you like focus a lot on injury prevention with all that stuff?
Yeah, I mean, when I fractured my back from lifting actually. It was it was during like a team lift and I was doing a trap bar deadlift and I pulled it up and I was like, oh my God. I think like something just happened. My back really hurts, but I thought nothing of it and like kind of just kept playing through it. So a lot of things happened with that. But now I take it a lot more seriously. So for example, recently I just started feeling pain in my groin. And as soon as I started feeling that, I was like, I need to taper it back. Now
Yeah.
I listen to myself now that like I'm in pro hockey. But when I was in college, like I would just push through groin pain. And I think the biggest thing for any athlete is like being your own advocate because
Mhm.
that preventative measure, like just even taking a couple of days off, could prevent you from being out for months. And
Yeah,
so that's why I always preach to my players like better safe than sorry. Take your time.
absolutely. Do you have any tips for people too who want to get into pro hockey or pro sports and a whole, whether it's like injury prevention or like, I don't know, your top three things that you would suggest to people?
I'd say the first thing is just taking your time and focusing on the next step. Don't be in a hurry to get to pro hockey. Like enjoy if you're in eighth grade, focus on making your team next year. Don't focus on playing D1 hockey right out of the bat. Obviously, you can have your far away goal, but you don't want to have that too stretched out because you're just going to get limited by your own head, basically. And so focus on the next step, whether like once you get to college hockey, focus on that year, then focus on the next year, then the next year, and then start focusing on playing pro hockey. It's good to have like the idea, but don't get too caught up in it because anything can change. Like your career could change just from an injury. And then the other thing would be really getting your rest, drinking water, and sleep. Like sleep, rest, and nutrition. I could not recommend those three things more. I would say those would take up the next three. So two through four, you really need to focus on all those things. I didn't realize how much it made a difference for me. Like I suffered from like a lack of energy all the time. Even though it's like I'm a high energetic person, I did
Mhm.
not have the energy to get through my day because like I was not fueling my body or I wasn't sleeping the amount of hours I need or I had only had one bottle of water and I sweat out two bottles of water at practice, you know? So I'd say those are my four big things to think about.
Awesome. Yeah, I love everything you said. I completely agree with. And what are like the next steps for you now? I mean, you're on your pro team and will you be here for a while or I don't know how long your like contract is and everything.
My contract's through the year, so I'm debating what's going to happen next year. I came out of retirement twice already, and so I'm not sure how much more I can do. I'm
Yeah.
25. I'm like not that old in terms of like you can see some hockey players will play until they're like their 30s. I have a girl on my team right now that's 32. I don't think I'll make it that long. Not because I don't think that I can, it's because I just have other goals in mind for myself and my future. And so I'm really focusing on kind of the next steps, which is just helping the next generation of athletes. And so a lot of that's going to be hopefully through a nonprofit that I create over the next 5 years.
Oh my gosh, amazing. I'll definitely have to look out for all that stuff. Do you want to also share your social
Yeah,
media so people can look you up and follow you and everything?
for sure. So on Instagram, it's ray.rush, just rea.rust, my last name. And then on TikTok, that's another big one for me, is Reagan Rust. So just my full name there. But I can be reached kind of on any social media platform. I check everything.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'll also link all your things in the description. If you're on YouTube, definitely like click the link, and then if you're on Spotify or any other podcast platform, just look and it'll all be spelled out for you. So, thank you so much for letting me interview you. This was so much fun.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me. This is great.
Thanks. Okay.